Taking names. How's it going, boys and girls? It's Mikey Wine here. You guys know me. It's Gundam Money Works, and we are live. We already got 5 people watching. We got a couple people in the chat already. Nigel and Julius have been talking about what not while they were waiting. How's it going, guys? Good to see you, as always. So, yeah, we're going to be working on the figures tonight. I've got pretty much the base and the tank and the Zaku head, all that stuff I think is done. I'm not sure if there's any more I can do to it. I shall go down here in just a second and show you the end result. The tank is not mounted, it's not glued, I should say, down to the base. I want to make it easier to transport, so I left it off. But I did add some little tufts, little tufts, weeds and stuff like that on the ground. A little bit more pigment. Did the tracks as well underneath, so it looks like the tank is driving up to this location and stopping right next to the Zaku. I do need to. I'm also going to paint some of those spent shell casings. I still have to glue those down too, but I got to paint them first. So those are in primer, and then I primed up all the figure pieces and did the flesh tone. So primarily tonight I'm going to be working on, well, I'm going to start working on the faces of these guys. There's 3 characters that came with this kit. I won't be using any from the Rembarel set because they are Xeon suits, and I don't want the Xeon suits on them. I want the Fetty guys in line here. So Ultraman, what's up, buddy? Good evening, everyone. Missed you last one. No, that's okay. It's all good. You're here. That's right. You're here. It's all good. No big deal. So let's get started here. So I got, like I said, I did primed everything, and I used a basic flesh tone from Mr. Color. It's number 51, which is their flesh color. But what I will be using for shading is there is a flesh shade from Citadel Paints that works beautifully, and I like using it, especially on faces and things like that, because it really picks up the shadows really easily, and it works great on the lacquers. It goes over the lacquers just fine. Then I'll be hand painting everything else. Well, I should say most of their clothing might be airbrushed, but I need to decide on the colors. I've got the color chart that came with the kit, so I'm kind of matching those up with some of the Mr. Color lacquers, and I'll be airbrushing what I can, but I think most of the detail stuff, like the little pouches and things like that, and those will be done by hand. So let's go down here. We'll get the big look here before we go in close. So yeah, the tank is just sitting here, and the tracks are done and dusted, and then you can see a few little spots here and there that look pretty dark on screen, but that's basically the little weeds. I tried to do Nigel's idea of making one that was kind of like flattened under the treads, but I had it just wouldn't stay down every time I tried to crush it down. What's up, Nick? Have you taken any whip pictures of this project? Yes. I just posted some actually the other day. Will you be uploading them to your IG? I have actually just uploaded some recent photos of this to my Instagram and Facebook. So you can find them on the Facebook page, the Gundam Money Works Facebook page, or my Gundam Money Works Instagram. Because they're linked together, whenever I post to Instagram, it automatically shares them to Facebook. So I get double trouble there. So we'll go in a little bit closer here. Let me hide that. And then I can kind of bring this up to. I was messing around with the saturation with the camera settings, and it couldn't really come up with anything. The colors just look very, very vibrant. I was trying to dull them down a little bit to make them look more of what they look like in person, but it just makes them look black and white if I go too dull. So anyway, I'm going to hold on to the tank here so it doesn't slide away, but we can get a close-up of the Zaku head. I added some more dust to the top. You can see there. Dust and dirt that would have settled after this thing kind of impacted the ground and behind. And then we've got the tank here, of course. Good. There's a weed. There's a couple more there. And there's one more up in front here by the, you can see in the front of the tank. But yeah, I like the way this has turned out. Pretty happy with it. There's not much else I can do to the sand. I might add some more pigment here and there just to kind of give these different textures some, I don't know, a little bit more character. When it's a flat surface like this, there's not a whole lot you can do to it. Well, I guess I could add some more, maybe some more of the actual the texture, the sand texture. If I wanted to create like a dune or something, I'd have to pile it up. But I'm pretty good. I'm pretty happy with just the flat scape of this, and then the impact of that hitting the ground. But I might add a touch here and there just to kind of give it maybe a little more character. But other than that, I'm going to leave it alone. Coming together nicely. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So we're going to move this aside now. Let's just take this whole thing off, and I'll bring up some of the few character pieces that I'll be doing, the figures. And so, like I said, I've got three characters. This is the driver. Let's see if I can get a close-up of his face if it'll focus. Okay. So I airbrush the flesh tone. I will be hand painting everything else to, his headgear. There's also some decals for some of their logos and markings on their uniforms. I'm going to try to use those. I don't know. I don't know why they decided to do that. I might just hand paint everything. This is, I think, yeah, this guy's wearing the eye patch. This is the, I don't think he's the commander. He's just kind of hanging out in the back. And then this is the third here. This is, I think, the commander here. Now, their heads are chopped off because they've got, there's berets. They're all wearing either berets or a helmet. You can see the driver here has his helmet on. Now, basically what I'm going to do with these, because they're kind of posed in a way that I can't really stand them up easily anyway outside the tank except for the driver. So this guy is going to be standing out in front or somewhere by the side of the tank next to the Zaku. The other two will be on the tank. And basically the rest of what I've got here is just their bodies just primed with Guyanose black, which is what I like to use. So when I decide on the colors of the uniforms, I've got a few here already. Bring them into frame. So a couple of the uniforms might be a combination of these two. I might actually get a slightly darker brown for some of them. This is going to be for some of their gear that they're wearing. The base colors will be the browns, and then I'll have a little bit of green. These two were something I was trying to decide on which one to use for their berets. They've got them kind of a faded red. I was going to go for a little bit more rich, maybe this wine color, but then I came across, this is the charged red. So it's a MS color, but it actually has a nice, it's not quite as bright red burgundy as the wine red is. This is number 100, and then this is the UG11 charged red. So I want to experiment with either one of those and see what looks best, and then we'll go from there. But in the time being, I'm going to look. This is looking amazing. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Wish I could see it in person. Well, one of the cool things, a couple weeks ago, I found figures very difficult. Anti-mech squad. Yeah, maybe. Giovanni, what's up, buddy? Giovanni's in. So, a couple weeks ago, this is kind of off topic, but a couple weeks ago, I was talking about my work schedule possibly changing and having to change up the live streams. Well, I can say with confidence that is not going to happen. Now, our schedules are changing. However, it's not going to affect my live stream, the time or the day. So no need to worry about that. I won't be having to switch days or notify everybody, week by week kind of thing. My schedule is just, I'll be working more Saturdays, but I'll be getting on and off at the same time. So I will be here every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, and that's the way we'll do that. What was I going to say? What else was I going to say? So figures being difficult, I guess. They can be challenging. And I know some people will say, I talk about this every time I do it, whenever I do hand painting with Mr. Color or lacquers, it's like, you just don't do it. You're not supposed to be able to hand paint with them. I don't do big surfaces hand painting with lacquers, but I do small stuff. And if thinned properly, you can use them quite successfully in this type of, for this type of application. I will, like I said earlier, I will be adding some shell casings. Those are all primed right now. I've got to go back. I'm going to paint them with this Super Gold number 202 Mr. Color. Pretty good brass looking color. And then I can muddy them up. One of the other things I forgot I had, and I was actually searching through my bins looking for some of this brass rod so I could put these little heads kind of on spikes kind of thing. I can get it to focus now. So you can see like this little brass rod that I'm using to hold on to. And I came across this package of 1/35th scale armaments. They're like big shell casings, torpedo rounds, or I don't know, Sabo kind of thing. I couldn't tell you. I'm just looking at the diagram there. But one of the cool things is it's got a little sheet of photo etch, which you can see there, that has the backs of these. So you've got the shell casing, and then you've got that back brass where you can see the information that's stamped on that. So I may actually, they're the same size, and because they're 1/35th scale, they're actually the same size as the shell casings that came with the kit. So I might just borrow a few of those, glue them onto the back of those shells, so they'll look like, there'll be a little bit more fine little details there that we'll be adding to that. So I'm just going to place this here. We're using the Agrax Earth Shade or the Reichland Flesh Shade, which is what I'll be doing. I actually got to go get some water. I did forget that. I need to have some water to thin this with, so give me just 5 seconds here, and I'll fill up my little dish as soon as I get all the dirt out of it. Give me 5 seconds. I'll be right back, everybody. Just grab some water. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, now just a little bit of water because these are water-based, but they do work very well with over lacquers as far as like shading and stuff like that. And I'm going to go ahead and use the Flesh Shade, which is I've used before, and this is Citadel Shade. It's called Reichland, Reikland Flesh Shade. And it works really good with faces because it just settles into the low areas, darkens them up a little bit, and depending on how much you use is how deep that contrast is. It's kind of like, it's not a contrast color, but it does create really good contrast. So we'll start with our pilot driver, and I'm not going to grab a too small of a brush. This is a 3/0. One of the brushes I use quite often. And you'll see, let me give you the before. So let's see, come on, focus. There we go. So we can see the face there. Still see pretty good details. A But once we put this on, you'll see a huge difference. There are so many good contrast paints around nowadays. I have been looking for green stuff, World Products. Yeah, that's probably a good place to look. I haven't shopped on their website much, so I don't know what they have available. But I noticed a lot of the Citadel stuff is just brilliant. Really good. Finish the inner frame of the MG Zeta 2.0. Nice. Giovanni's got a Zeta going. Very good. All right, so let's put some of this on here. Now, after this is on, and once it dries, then I can go back and actually put, because you're going to have to paint the eyes. There's things you're going to have to do to basically bring these figures to life. And the stuff is thin enough that you can spread it around. Get it into those, almost like you would with like a, what am I trying to say? Like a panel line wash, but you can move it around and reduce how much is in there. If you get too much in one spot, you can go ahead and just use the brush to kind of pull it back out. It soaks into those areas, but then if, like I said, it gets too deep, like just a second ago, I had a little too much around the eyes. So I just used the brush. I just dabbed the brush off so it was more of an absorbent. And then go ahead and touch those areas again, and it just pulls that fluid right out. So this also deepens up their facial color a little bit too. The flesh tone is lighter than what I would normally use. Now we're going to see the after of just adding that first layer. So see, the neck's got tone. Looks like there's a little bit in this groove over here that I can take out. I was talking about that, like it gets a little too thick. Just go in there and grab it with the brush. Pull it right back out. Now, you can go back over this again if you need to. Once this first layer dries, you can go back in and update that. Now, I'm going to have to paint the eyes, and that's always a challenge with these little tiny faces, but if need be, I can go in and add a little, just hand brush a little bit of flesh if I make an error and have to kind of fix it up. So now I'm going to do this older guy here with the eye patch. And he's actually got his ears exposed here. So I'm going to do his neck as well. So it'll highlight those neck muscles. You have to pay close attention to today's stream. Let me see what Julie, I'm going to put this on screen. Give me a sec. Julie says, I need to pay close attention to this, Jim. I've been wanting to build some of the UC hardgraph kits. Never painted figures. Yeah, cool. I'm sure it will be a huge success, Julius. Now, these are just the ones that came with it. You might be able to find some other figures that will work, online or something. Now this guy's got an eye patch, so even though it's a flesh tone now, I'll be painting over that. But I like the way this stuff settles down into those deeper areas and then allows the higher areas, like this guy's Adam's apple, to actually to be a little bit lighter. It's almost like going in and pre-shading an area. So now you can see, we'll see the after for this one here. Well, focus. There we go. So you can see he's got an eye patch. We're going to have to go over that. And this is just the first layer. I can deepen these up later. I'm just going to get a first layer down. And then you can apply more. It is a shade fluid. It's actually labeled as a shade fluid from Citadel, so it's made for shading. But it's a nice tone that works well with human skin tone. So that's what I say. Archer Decals makes eye decals in a few different scales. Really? Yeah, but how small? Gosh, if they did stuff, 1/35th would be almost, you wouldn't be able to see it. I mean, that's so tiny. Okay, so this I think is the Commander. If I remember right. I've got all these parts labeled because there's 3 figures. I didn't want to get the parts confused between the 3 figures as to which one. I think this guy actually has. Oh yeah, I think I do. I just realized the sides of his head were like really smooth. There was no ears on him. And I just looked at the parts runner that's remaining. There's one runner that has like a few weapons, some sidearms, and things like that for these figures. And this guy's actually got a headset on. So there's 2 sets of 2 actually headphones that go on the sides of his ears, and then the beret that goes on over the top, on the top of his head. Covers up, we'll have the strap going across for his headphones. And I'm probably going to put some kind of mustache on this guy too, because he's supposed to be an older gentleman, kind of in charge. I'm going to give him some white facial hair, something kind of like what I got. White hair, old man stuff. So there we go. This one's going to need a little bit of adjustment. I can see already the nose is a little too much of that dipped in there. But like I said, you just dab the brush off, and it basically turns the brush into a sponge. It just pulls that stuff right back out. So if you do get a little too heavy, you've got time to deal with it. So now, there we go. Tone it down a little bit. Looks pretty good so far. They do 1/35th scale. Wow, that would be crazy. All right, for some of the other flesh tones here, this is like their arms and stuff. Their hands are gloved. So I'm just going to go over their forearms, basically, and some of their. Oops, sorry guys, I forgot to put my phone on silent, so that was a text coming through. Oh, lovely. Okay, hang on a sec. Let me forward this. I'm going to give this to. There we go. All right. I just had to forward that to my wife. I guess it's a good thing I didn't have it on silent, because I would not have heard that. She needed a verification code that was sent to me. So I'm just doing their forearms here now. Their arms actually have some. You can't really see it until you put this shading on there. It kind of looks almost like a muscle tone. You can see little lines here and there. I'll show you the before and after, so you can kind of see. Hopefully I can get this. So hopefully I can do this where you can see it. This is going to be kind of challenging. Let's see if I can do this. So the one on the right is the one that I use the tone on. The one on the left has not been done. So you can kind of see it's a little bit lighter in color. And just by adding that shade, it just gives it that much more of an actual, believable flesh tone. So Giovanni's here. Let's see. Talking about paying attention. I follow a tutorial on YouTube for 3 Space Marines you're painting. I follow instructions. Space Marines look clean enough to be in a military parade. Nice. So this is a good looking brush. What size is it and what brand? Oh gosh. Well, let's see. This was a set that I bought on Amazon, I believe. This is a 3-0, 3-aught or 3, and it's by the Artisan Shop Fine Tip Series number 4, round. So let's see if I can put that to a point where you can actually read it and maybe screenshot that. But I think I bought these on Amazon, just a three-piece set of them. They're good. I bought several brush sets on Amazon, different types. This is each one that came in the set was all the same size, or all the same shape. There wasn't like a variety pack of different ones. Found them. Nice. Very good. Yeah, anytime I can help. I wonder if they're on my Amazon shop. I don't really rely on the Amazon shop. I started advertising that a long time ago when influencer programs came out for Amazon, and I was like, shop on my Amazon store. But I got so little hits on it. It was just, there was a few people that bought some stuff, but really not enough to amount. I mean, they give you a little kickback, but it was, we're talking pennies, really. There's nothing super special. I might have those on there though, but if not, I don't care. No big deal. Just go ahead and buy whatever you found. Just go ahead and buy it. Yeah, especially this guy's arm. This is number 1, which is the commanding officer. He's got some really good muscle tone in his arms. And you didn't really see that until you highlight it. It's kind of nice the way they molded this. For a Bandai set, they really did a great job with those little details on the arm. What did I just say? I just said I didn't turn my phone off, and yet I still didn't turn it off. All right, let's do this again. There. Now it's just on vibrate. So at least if something goes off now, it'll just give me a little vibrate. Won't interrupt the live stream. So a couple of these guys have their arms bent. And that was another thing. They were just the poses that they came in. Obviously, you can't change the pose much. And I wanted to have all 3 of these guys standing out by the Zaku, but because of the poses that they're in, wasn't able to do that. So I think I'm going to have to settle just for the driver, because he can stand and still have his arms kind of by his side. Really, I think I can manage to make it look believable. The other 2 need to be on the tank. That's just all there is to it. So the commander will be up in the hatch. The other guy will be hanging out in the stowage area, and then the driver will be out on the sand, kind of in front or beside the Zaku. So I'm just going over each one of these pieces. There's only a few. It's basically just their arms that are exposed. Let's see. Elshman says, so the size has more zeros. Does it mean that it's a finer tip? That's a brilliant question. Maybe. I imagine, yeah. If it's anything like most sizing type things like this, yeah, if you have like a double-aught or a triple-aught is going to be a finer tip than a 2 or a 1. This one says 3-0. Maybe that means triple-aught. I would, if I was just to guess, but And this is just a clear, opaque shading fluid. It's water-based. It's really easy to clean. So I've got all of their arms done. Let's see what else we can do tonight. Let me go back, take a look at one of these faces here and see. Has this set of figures gotten separate feet from the legs? No. All the figures in my sets have separate feet, legs, upper and lower. One of them had the legs like in two pieces. The other two, let me see here. This one, like this guy here, has it's fallen off. Put them on my sticky roll. This one, I believe, was one. Yeah, this was one solid piece. I think that's the driver. So that's why it's going to be a little bit easier for him to be standing up. This one is the guy crouched kind of in the back of the stowage area. And his legs were in two halves, split down the middle. And then the torso was on, well, the torso, it was because the legs were kind of built into the hips and the waist. And right at the waist is where the top torso went on. So I'm hoping I got that right. And then this is the commander. He's going to be standing in the seat with the hatch. That's why I've got him clamped on his foot here. So I'm not too worried about painting his boots, even though you're not really going to see them. But they all have this kind of funky looking backpack or something, for lack of a better term, that's supposed to be a different color. So I'll be using the color chart to kind of hand paint those. So I'm going to shake this up one last time. I'm going to take a look at these faces that I did and see if they need any touching up. I'll go back over these with a flat coat when I'm done, because some of the colors, obviously some of the Mr. Color colors are going to be gloss. I don't know if you've ever seen these Citadel paints, but one of the cool things is when you pop these open, they have like this little spoon, kind of a scoop built into the lid. And as you set the jar here, it kind of just pulls up and gives you a little bit to feed from, rather than having to dip into the whole bottle. You can just grab from the lid. Mine, let's see. He says mine are all 4-piece legs assembled, very different. Very difficult to get good alignment. Yeah, I guess I can see why that could be a challenge. Man, I am sore tonight, guys. I've been doing some heavy line work at the shop. Completely rebuilding resealing an engine. I've got more to do tomorrow. The engine's is pretty much done, ready to go back in. But the last 2 days have been spent just tearing everything down, cleaning everything. Yeah, so I am sore. My back hurts, and I'm struggling in this seat right now just to get comfortable. All right, so I'm going to go back over this first. This was the first one. I'm going to give a little bit more shading to these around the neck. Kind of give those neck muscles a little bit more definition. And just around the face, the darker areas where they'll be shadowed from the head, his helmet and everything like that. Full engine rebuild. Well, it wasn't a full engine rebuild per se. It was more a reseal. So the block stayed, intact with pistons and everything like that. But we're dealing with Subaru, so the Boxster style engines, and they tend to leak oil a lot sometimes. Not all the time, hit or miss mostly, but right now it looks like this guy's eyes are closed because they're not painted. But yeah, it's 22 hours of labor. That's what you're talking about. Building a stone retaining wall. Yeah, you were showing me pictures of that, Nigel. That's got to be a lot of backbreaking work too, because you're just bent over all the time on the ground. That's got to be expensive job for a car owner. Yep, not from the definitely not from the 50s or 60s, 70s, or even the 80s for that matter. All right, so I put a little bit more of the shading on around the edges and on the neck. So the neck has got some shadows, deeper shadows, kind of a little more definition. And then we'll get to just painting the eyes. And I'll probably use, I think it will be, I don't know what's going to be easier. It might be easier to use gloss white. I don't know. Probably gloss white would be easier. See, that's the third guy. Let me start with this one, Mr. Eye Patch here. He's pretty good. Might add a tiny bit more around the neck. Again, just to further give that his chin, those shadows under the chin, a little more definition. And just by applying a second layer, you can kind of see how it builds up. You can layer this stuff. I mean, this even works as a shadow on his, from the strap of his eye patch. It's kind of crazy because there's just a line, a faint line that goes across his this cheek here, and this fluid goes in and just highlights that just enough to give him a little definition. It's kind of cool. So he looks pretty good. I don't think I need to add much. Maybe a little bit to his chin down here. The cheeks are a bit brighter because they're the higher points. Let's see if we can get him on focus there. Yeah, I mean, right now he looks like a zombie because there's only one color, but once I get the rest of the colors on there, you'll see a huge difference. Contrast layers, yeah, should make it easier. That's true. Taking my discovery up for service and a recall. Ooh, you got a discovery. Is that what is that, a Ford or Buick? Excuse me for not remembering. Oh, it's a Land Rover. Keeping the trunk from almost a week. Yeah. Land Rovers aren't cheap to fix either. Contrast layer should make it easier to the eyes. Let's hope so. Yeah, because I can go back if I do make a little error and maybe put some of that fluid on there. Everyone is having vehicle issues. Yeah, comes when it rains, it pours sometimes. Looks like Igor. Turbo wastegate actuator has a hole in the diaphragm. Shocking. Yeah, Toyota's not been really. I mean, I know they've got new turbos and stuff. I'm just kind of stretching here a little bit. Oh, because my back is really hurting. And Nigel's got a Toyota over there in New Zealand. They don't even sell them over here. But wastegates always been an issue with any kind of turbo. I used to work on Mitsubishi years ago. And when the Evo came out and nobody wanted to work on them, they were just scared. So I kind of got roped into it per se. I enjoyed it. It wasn't bad. It paid good. Nobody wanted to do it. Plus I got to drive them, test drive them all the time. And that was a plus, being able to take it home. They say, yeah, the customer wants you to take it home, put some miles on it, because they were blowing up their engine. So I was always rebuilding, putting select fit bearings and all sorts of stuff, rebuilding engines. for these guys, these kids that were buying these cars, because they figured, let's buy this Mitsubishi Evo, and it was never designed to be a quarter-mile, car that you launch off the line. That's why they were burning them up, because it was designed to go fast down the road. Beating boost cut around 7 psi. That's low. 13 psi. My car is a 2004. Wow. It looks good though. From the picture you sent me, it looks really good. I was showing it to a friend of mine here, and he was like, "What is that?" Because it kind of, if you look at the older models of what you have, it does look a lot like a Subaru Legacy, but not the one you have. I think the one you have looks more like a stretched out, Honda hatchback or something. It's not being condescending in any way. It just, that's what it kind of looks like. It looks like a hatchback that you just kind of stretched into a longer 4-door. Looks nice. Oh boy. Okay. So, what are we going to do next? I got all the arms done. The faces got some second coats on them. So, let's see here. What do I want to paint next? Or maybe should I get some of those shell casings and see about this photo etch set here? I know I've opened this. Yes. I have taken bits out of this. I used some of this on a diorama I made years ago. I used some of the brass. God, these are actual heavy brass too. They're solid little warheads. And some of them are spent, like you can see, if you look at some of the ones in the bag here, some of them don't have shells in them. They're spent casings. Call them casings, but they're shells really. And then other ones are intact. It's really kind of cool. But what I'm after is this little guy, this little sheet here, which has, wow, some of these even have a little, they've even got a little center hole, like a punch in the back. Like if you wanted to make it look like a spent round, you can have that little pin mark where the firing pin hit it. But I want to take this sheet out. I want to see if maybe I can, you know what, I'll paint them first and then I'll glue them on. So I might not do this after all. But I will show you what I'm talking about. So here's one of these shell casings. And this is just, again, these are primered black. It's kind of hard to see. Little brass hollow shell casing. So what I want to do is actually take one of these here and just place it on the back, glue it on the back, and that way it'll look like, in fact, some of these even have a little pin mark where they've been like it's been fired. So you can flip it over, you can do it either direction, but this one has the writing on the back, so I think I'll just clip one of those off and glue it right on the back. And it's this exact same diameter. It's amazing how close that is to that. Being the same scale, it's kind of ironic. Getting boost cut around 7%. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got a lot of miles on that, but in kilometers, so I have to do the math. So 300,000 kilometers. Let's see how many miles that is. Let's see, km to miles. So 300,000 kilometers is 186.4 thousand miles. So 411 miles. So that's not terribly high. I mean, considering for a Toyota, yeah, that's halfway through its lifespan. It sounds like a lot when you put it in kilometers, but when you do the math, it's like, okay, because we're used to mileage over here. So I think I'm going to wait till after I paint those. So I'm going to put this back though, but I'm glad I found these. I forgot I had them. I use them for my Gesta Urban Assault type diorama that I entered in the GBWC years ago. Change my profile pic for your little toy. Oh, there you go. So everybody can see your car. Very cool. Very cool. Go check it out. It's a nice car. All right. So let's see here. Gosh, I want to do some more painting on these, but I think I need to figure out which color I'm going to use, and I can't really set up the airbrush now. So what are we going to do next, boys and girls? Give me your thoughts. Photo etch base plate and fuse assembly. Photo etch base plate and fuse assembly of the shell. Yeah, pretty much. It's just the primer. It's a little plate that shows the primer on the back. The primer where the firing pin would hit. So yeah, it's kind of cool. Actually, did I show that up close? I don't know if I saw that. I guess I could zoom in on that. Let me pull these back out. All right, so get up close here and see if we can see it. Come on, focus. There it goes. So that bottom row there has the ones that have already been fired. Got a little dot in the center of the primer. Yeah, just a couple little clips, the clip off. They're only held on to the sheet with a couple little pins, so it won't take much to clip them off, and then file down the burr and glue them on. Real easy, real simple. All right, so I've got this is the color guide for these guys. So you can see the colors that I'm dealing with, that I'm trying to replicate. Their berets are not quite as bright red. I want to make them slightly darker than that. I think they'll look fine. And even if they're a little bit light, I can also use some shading on there too, which would enhance all those, almost exactly like what you'd want out of a panel line color. But when doing figures, it's better to use flesh tones rather than actual, enamel panel lines. But each one of these guys has got a different color uniform. Like the guy on the left there, this is more of a light tan, and then you've got the commander here with his headset. He's got more of a darker color, and then you got over here on the right, and the driver, he's got more of almost looks like a green vest. Each one of them's got a sidearm, and then some of the guys, I've got to glue those extra little pieces on. So I'm using that as a guide, trying to get as close as I can to that. But again, this is Bandai, so they're probably using they're not using Mr. Color for their color charts. They're just telling you what colors you need to blend to make it. So I'll have to figure that out. Oh, primer not fuse? Yeah, no big deal. Yeah, fuse would be up in the warhead if it was some kind of a high-powered warhead. The casing, the shell itself, the projectile is where the fuse is going to be, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. What do I know, right? So what are we going to build next when we're done with this? I know Giovanni knows the answer. So let me go get the kit. I'm going to show everybody what my next build is going to be. See if I can manage to get it out easily. Let's see here. Where are you? I thought it was close by. Nope, that's not it. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. Okay. So, since we were talking about, and Nigel already knows this, but I'm going to move this rack of parts aside here. We'll get back to those. Maybe not tonight, but we'll see. So the next kit on the board, and this is for a commission for Giovanni. I'm going to back up here so we can bring this in. When back to Macross will be the VF1D Gerwak Valkyrie from Hasegawa, which I think Hasegawa is by far the best model as far as company that makes Macross models. They just the fit and finish and even their details blow away, I think, anything that Bandai makes some pretty good stuff, but when it comes to Macross kits, I think Hasegawa's got it dialed in, and especially their 148 scale stuff. I just need them to make a 148 battle ride. I mean, that to me is that's the kit we all need. They've got 148 scale Valkyries, but nothing, that's not even a Gerwak in 148. And you have to build one yourself and actually modify a 148 kit to make your own if you want to do it that way. But I'd love to see them do a 148 battle ride. That would be awesome. So next on the bench, when we're done doing those figures and finalizing the base on this, and I'm hoping to be done this week. It depends on how much I can get done over the weekend and the rest of this week. I want to be done with this Bandai, the tank and everything. So if I can get that done, then we'll start working on this. Now there will be some points, some weeks where during the broadcast where I might be doing something else, because a lot of times when this goes into paint, I can't really do much building while everything's being painted, so there will be sections of the kit that I can build, here, because Hasegawa definitely doesn't do a snap fit. Everything has to be glued. So, and, we might be doing a lot of masking. I can do masking, that part. But when it gets to the point, paint, where it's going to be in paint. Yeah, funny you should say that, Nick. It is a nice Gerwak, but this is kind of the coolest thing about this particular kit is that it comes with, and let's see here, I gotta put my glasses back on. If I'm not mistaken, where are they? I think it's even got a little, or am I thinking of a different one? It should have, I think it's got a figure kit, a figure piece for the Minmay character in here, but I'm not certain on that. There is the little strap here for the gun pod. This is kind of a nice little touch. But everything's in one big bag, so I can't really see too much here. I'm looking to see if I can spot something just off the top. Oh wait, here it is. It's on the side. There we go. See, I knew it had some extra resin stuff. So there's actually a Hikaru pilot figure here. Let me go up to close up again. It's friggin' awesome kit. Dramatic intro music. So what you've got here is this little bag. On the bottom here is Hikaru Ichiju, the pilot, and then we've got two resin Minmay figures to put in, in the seat with him, and then you've got also a third or another Minmay figure here in her China doll outfit. So that was all extras that came in this kit. I did not buy that separate. It was all part of it, which is kind of a nice little touch. They even show on the box here, if you look at, you can see her in the hand of the Gerwak there being rescued, but I'm not sure. I think she's supposed to be in the cockpit. The figure looks like, I don't think she's held in the hand. we'll see. And I'll go over the build process again with Giovanni. I think he was asking for straight, no weathering, straight color, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. So it'll be a fun build. I did have a Gerwak, or I had a Bandai kit from years past that I always kept in Gerwak because it just looked great in the VF1D with the orange and the tan. It just looks really awesome. So there's an actual picture of the two figures. So you got her sitting in the seat here, or you got her in the hand with her in the China doll. I think that's called the China doll outfit. Later, fellas. It's that time. All right, Nick. Thanks for popping in, bud. We'll see you next time. So anyway, after we get done with those figures, we'll get started on this right away. I thought I cleaned this brush, but it just seems like, I guess it didn't seem like it was too flexible, like it was getting dried up something in it. But second time through the water, it's good. All right, move that aside. The big reveal, and we're not doing any lighting. We're not doing any customization. Just it's going to be a straight build, so it should come out really, really nice. I think. Yeah, cool deals. All right, so where are we at? We're at 7 o'clock. All right, let's see what we can do with these figures. Let's put this guy back in the stock. Put that guy back in the backlog closet and see what's next. What's my IG account? It should be Gundamonium Works. Just the same as what you see on the lower left corner. Should be able to find it there. If you need help after that, let me know. But that's where you should find it. So I can bring it up. Oops, wrong one. Yeah, there you go. See if I can get to 1,000. Come on, guys. 54 more followers. I'm just kidding. But yeah, you'll see a lot of photos recently, and you can actually see them there on the cover photo. Where I've added photos for this project. So let's see how this is going. Oh, that's. Oh my good Lord. What happened to the baseball game? Oh, I'm not into baseball, but the Seattle Mariners are closest they've ever been to getting to the World Series. They just have to win 2 more games out of 3 at home. And when I left the restaurant, when we were coming home tonight, they were up 2-0 after a home run. I just looked at the score, and it's 12-2 now. The Toronto Blue Jays came back and just smoked them. I don't think they're going to win tonight. You just realized you were following each other. Isn't that funny? You see? That is kind of funny. All right, let's see what we can do here. Let's go down look. Gosh, I want to start painting, but I'm trying to think. I really need to airbrush their suits first. Get as much as I can with, done with airbrush, and then. Oh, he's got like a white sleeve. No, I guess it's not a white sleeve. Just looks like it. They've even got decals for little like collars and their logos. It's kind of crazy. And just to try to use decals that are that small. So I'll bring out the sheet again here. show you what I'm talking about. So if you look at, actually, let me go close up again. Let's move this guy out of the way. So yeah, you've got all of these, those red ones there, those are all their, rank insignias. Actually, you know what? These are all Xeon type. I just realized that. I thought I was, so maybe I can use some of the figures from the Rambarel set. I'll have to go look at those a little closer and see. Might be actually, yeah, because I was thinking these guys were all Fetty, but looking at the rank insignias, those are all Xeon, I think. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Please do, because I'm the last one you want to ask about this kind of stuff. But aren't those all Xeon logos or Xeon rank insignias, and those red bars? Like, those are their collars. You should follow your Facebook page. You don't do IG though? Well, that's fine. Yeah, you should follow my Facebook page, Nigel. I mean, you know enough about it. We talk to each other on Facebook all the time. So let's pull out these figure sets here and see just how good they are. Now, these are out of the Rambarel set. So I'm not actually going through them. Oh, there's even a female in a dress. So it looks like, oh yeah, there's a guy with a cape. These are quite nice. So you were talking about separate boots and stuff. Yeah, the female character here has separate boots. And it looks like this guy with the cape also has his legs are separate, and they are separate boots. So yeah, this is a huge difference between that Rambarel set, which is also a UC hard grab kit. But you can also see, like, look at all these, like torso, leg sections, boots over here in the brown. Even got helmets that are in two halves. They've got some that are in full helmets. They look very German-esque helmets, and the faces aren't too bad either. Yeah, one guy looks scary, man. He looks angry. So we get a close up of the faces there. So look at the second guy. He's got his mouth open. He's just screaming bloody murder. So yeah, I could actually probably put together a couple of these guys as well. Maybe, there's another cape here. So there's a couple of capes we can use. But we can also, yeah, they could also be, I mean, like this guy, a fat boy right here, standing next to the kit. Then they got the basic shoulders here. That's what the helmets are for. So you got a couple of guys. Let's see if there's a better picture of the assembled. Oh, that's them right there. Okay, so I got to open this up. All right, so now you've got, here's a good picture of all the figures that come with it. You got a guy on a motorcycle. I won't go too deep down the rabbit hole here. I go, oh, I could put the motorcycle on there too, and I could do this, I could do that, and just extend this project even longer. Just want to get it finished at this point. So we'll see. I might have to use one or two of these guys too. We shall see. Yeah, it's kind of nice. I'm not sure what they would be doing out in the desert, though. Especially the woman in the, she looks like she's wearing something you'd wear out to dinner, not something you'd find out in the desert in the middle of a war zone. But I do like the helmets. I do like the one-piece helmets. I think these aren't quite molded as good as the ones out of the tank set, because because these are from the Rumble Rail set where the Zaku head came from. But I'm looking at some of the molds. There's some decent flashing on some of the arm pieces, and even a pretty good seam line or mold line on a lot of the torsos and stuff. So not the best, and even this this pack here has a nasty sink mark in the middle of it. So hopefully you don't see that, but I'm gonna take a little bit of cleanup and these will be fine. So we'll see. I might use those, I might not. We'll see how these figures come out. The ones from the tank set, I'll see how they work out, and then if I'll leave that on the bag, and then if I need to dig into those as well, I'll dig into them. These decals. Maybe I'll look at this back in the bag. Protect those decals. Separate hands and arms. Yeah, they've got like, I mean, most of their sleeves are, I think they tried to do that just so you don't have to paint them, but yeah, because you got separate boots, you got everything separate. There's 2 sets of purple boots here, one for the female, one for one of the other guys, and then you got some brown boots. But yeah, all the hands are separate, all the arms, legs. Definitely a little bit more challenging to assemble, I guess. What we were talking about earlier. Now I can at least protect those decals in the bag. All right. Let's see what. Why not down? Keep that back up there. All right. So the faces look pretty good right now, and they're all dry. So they've taken on that. They're no longer shiny. There's a nice flat tone. So I think I'm just going to start trying to paint the eyes here on this guy. So for that, I think gloss white will probably be best. I may need to thin this out. Actually, you know what? I've got some Citadel. I want to use the Citadel stuff because it's water-based. It'll be a lot easier to correct a mistake. So I'm going to actually go grab the white. I think I've got it right on top here. I'm going to grab a couple of the white colors. I've even got some contrast white. It might work. Contrast medium. I got 3 of those. 2 of them. Wait, this is paint. So I received a contrast set from Citadel from a friend of mine. This is technical something blizzard. I'm not sure how this is going to work. I may need to add some water to it, but we're going to see if this will. Yeah, he used to say the other figures you're working on look better. I think so too. Ooh, this is more like snow. Technical blizzard. Yeah, that's why it's more like snow. Let's see if this. Let's see if this white contrast will work. If not, I've got a white paint. I believe is right here. Yeah, this is ceramite white, which I think is what I'm going to use instead. I think the contrast will not work for this, especially for eyes, because the contrast is more of a opaque color. They're not made for solid colors. They're just opaque, and they're made for like doing filters and shades and contrast over something else. Yeah, this stuff's pretty thick. I'm gonna shake it up here. I'm lazy on social media. Yeah, no big deals. I paint really small add-on equipment while still on the sprue. That's a very good idea. That's another good idea. I should put that one on the screen. Yeah, especially like the little pouches and things that I got to put on these figures. That's probably a lot easier to do on the sprue, and then when you cut it off, all you got is a little tiny bit to touch up. For small stuff like that, I don't mind. I don't necessarily even. Sometimes I'll even be lazy and I won't even prime it. If it's something small enough like that, let's go ahead and have it. So I'm going to grab one of the smallest purses I have. This is another 3/0, but it just has a better tip on that. I don't think I've got anything smaller than this. So we're going to go ahead. What I am going to do is I want to bust out. These are just 2 times. Yeah, 2 times. These are just readers. I bought a set of them on Amazon. These are my eye adjusters. So these go from 0.5 to 4 times magnification. You can see the lens moving in and out. So you adjust these little dials and the lens moves inside. So you can go from just 0.5, just a little bit of magnification, all the way up to some really close stuff. So I'm going to need that, I think, for this. Oh yeah, I can see way better now. All right, I am going to make a slight adjustment here to this camera just because I'm kind of working in tight. Update that location. There we go. All right. So we'll see if we can not screw this up. Yeah, actually looks pretty good. Although I will need to add, like you were talking about earlier, adding a little bit of that contrast or the flesh tone, the flesh shade. Adding a tiny bit of that to definitely fix this. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit of that, but I should be able to. There we go. Okay. So now I've got just the whites of his eyes there. Looks kind of creepy. Clean out that brush. You can see the difference between that. I mean, this is a 3/0 brush too, but the white one's got quite a bit sharper a tip, I think. And that's just another set that I bought. But for this kind of thing, I think it works well. So I might as well do the rest of these. Do them all at once. Let me grab the sharp tip of a toothpick. I did consider that, but the problem is I think the toothpick is just, even that is not even sharp enough, because these are some tiny, tiny, tiny eyes. I mean, really tiny. I'm barely getting anything on the brush just so I can kind of dab it on there. It looks good. I just got to put some pupils in there, man. Otherwise, they look freaky. And this guy with the eye patch, he's only got one eye, so that makes it even easier. The other one's going to get covered up. The problem is this guy's got a bag under his eye. Excuse me for my concentration here. I'm not talking because I'm trying to make sure I don't screw that up. Okay. We'll give that a half second to dry, and then we'll go over it again with some of that flesh tone and try to blend those out. Sewing needle? Yeah, maybe. But honestly, I think the brush is fine because the brush is flexible. And when you're dealing with sewing needles or toothpicks, when you dab any paint on that, it forms a ball versus actually soaking into the bristles of the brush. And so you've got a smaller tip to work with essentially that just has paint on it versus something like a toothpick or something that has it's just a solid, the paint can't soak into it, so it has to cling to the outside and actually creates a larger bubble, I think. It's maybe describe that the right way. I'm going to grab that 3 out again. Just so I can do this flesh tone here. All right, so I started first with the driver. So I'm going to go back just around the eyes. Actually, might use the other brush. Clean that one out. All right. That's almost perfect. So I'm just going over like under the top eyelid. And then a little bit under the bottom eyelid. Yeah, that looks great. It actually worked out perfect because it was a little bit, the white I used was a little too much. But now I've added a little bit of that dark again, so now it looks a little bit more believable. I just need to add the right people. I paint a really small. Oh yeah, we already talked about that. Yeah. It looks good. Okay, let's do the last one here. Or the second one, I should say. The third guy's only got, like I said, he's got the eye patch on, so he's going to be a lot easier to do. Quite a bit better. All right, last one. almost there. All right. Cool deal. It's doing a little bit. I got to add the pupils in. I think I've got some colors I can do that with. Let's see. Let's see, what about blue? Yeah, we'll do it with black. No, make him cross-eyed. But why? Where's the fun in that? Well, this hasn't even opened yet. Abaddon Black. All right. So we're going to go here. Do the eye patch. Go with the eye patch first. That way I can't make him cross-eyed because he's only got one eye. It did it kind of on the bottom, so it almost looks like he's looking down. Well, that worked out great. So after I retouched it, now you can see. Yeah, you definitely can screw it up really quickly if you don't do it right. Don't want to give him a walleye either. Make it look like he's looking sideways. Not half bad. And just a touch more. All right, there's two. See if that focuses. Come on, focus. All right, last one. The driver. This definitely could use a little bit of water. Need to touch up that, but not too bad. I need to touch them up a little bit. Yeah, that one's not as good. I'm gonna have to touch that one up. That's an easy fix. Stone figures on the diorama. Give him bloodshot eyes. That'll work. Bloodshot? Nah. So I'm going to stir this up. This is the flesh tone that I used. I got to do a little touch up that last one, and we'll call it a night. This is a pretty light flesh tone too. That's what's nice about it, because it's a nice base color. You can always darken things up with the shading and stuff like that. It makes it nice to. So I'm just touching up the eyebrow here. I went a little too high. And then I'll go back over it with that shading. Yeah. He looks kind of pissed, but yeah, that looks pretty good. All right. Better than you could do. Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I mean, I used to try to hand paint Warhammer stuff years ago, back before they were made out of plastic or resin. You had to buy them in pewter or lead. That's the way they were, not anymore. All right. Okay, boys and girls, we're going to slowly back away here and call this one a night. Sorry, this was not as entertaining as most shows. I didn't have a lot to do. I was trying to fill up the time, but also I was kind of hurting. I'm still hurting. So thanks for sticking with me through the whole show. And for all those that were in the chat, let me go back to the beginning here. We had Nigel and Julius were having a conversation before we even started tonight. They were jumping in first. Then Ultraman popped in after that. Nick and Giovanni. I think that was it, right? Yeah. Sorry if I missed anybody. Please chime in one last time if I did. I think I got everybody there that was in the chat tonight. Thank you guys so much again for hanging out and taking the time out of your day to chill and do some building maybe on your end. And we're going to try to finish up these figures this week, maybe by the weekend. Hopefully, get everything done and glued into place. Once I get the colors decided on, as far as their uniforms and stuff, I'll airbrush that, and then I'll have to do all of the detail work by hand, like the gloves and boots and belts and gear and pouches and things. Those will be the things that'll be done by hand, but it'd be a lot easier. It'll probably look a lot better too if I airbrush most of that, if I get most of it. So I'm going to try to do that. Anyway, catch you guys on the flip. We'll see you next Wednesday, and appreciate each and every one of you. Please smash that like button and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. It supports me and supports the channel. Keeps this thing going, even though I'm not making a dime. I don't care. I like knowing people enjoy themselves and like to hang out. So anyway, peace out, guys. See you soon.